Hey family, it's Tasha MAMABEAR Prepping. You already know what time it is. Get your drink, pull up, let's talk about it. So today I have no idea what I'm about to talk about right now, what we're going to discuss. I am going to start with an email I received, somebody just inquiring that they're very, very ramped up, kind of nervous about the stuff that they're hearing in the news about war and about different things that are happening, right? And I think that this person is newer at trying to identify the process of learning more information, right? Not just taking regular news sources and taking it for what it is. This person is starting to open their eyes a little bit more, checking out alternative news sites, Googling, looking at stuff more, researching more, and is seeing more. And because of that, is a little worried about things they're seeing about war, tensions rising with us in North Korea, tensions rising with us in China, tensions rising, of course, with us in Russia, and what that means to us, and how do you implement that into your preparedness game? And I think it's the answer to me is very, very simple, actually. I think that you just continue to do what you're already doing, right? Water, food, meds, you have your particulars, you have your staples, right, that you're working on. You're always working on grid down, right? How are you going to go and live life without no power? So that's a big thing. I think that if you prepare for that by itself, I've said this many, many times, that you prepare for all types of things. If you prepare for living with no power, you prepare for storms even without even really understanding it and knowing it, okay? You prepare for that one thing, you're prepared for a lot of things. People who prepare for hurricanes, tornadoes, those families, really, they prepare for those things. They're ready for a lot of other scenarios that come. Basically, any scenario that comes and there's no power, you know, how do you live with that? If you think deep dive into, well, what could the enemy do? How would they attack us, whatever. Okay, I think that you could prepare for cyber attacks. How do you prepare and protect yourself for that? How do you prepare for different infrastructure attacks? What if they attacked our grid, our power, our sewer, our water, any of those aspects, you know, our gas shortages, if they tried to stop certain aspects from moving and movements. Preparing for, yeah, of course you could prepare for nuclear war, as you should, in my opinion, because you never know where you're going to be at, how you're going to fare that. And if you fare well, you want to be ready for that as much as possible, right? EMP attacks, right? Hitting us with that. Again, prepare for no power, you prepare for that. But there is another layer when you talk about EMPs of having to protect gear, certain aspects that you have to keep safe. So you need that Faraday layer within just getting ready for living with no power in general, right? I feel like sometimes people ask me questions that to me are simple answers, but it's not always that simple, right? Especially if you let your mind go and you start thinking about things, and then you have other people talking about we're going to be invaded, and we're going to be invaded from the Canadian border and the Russian border, or we have ships off our coast, or this and that. Then people start to see that stuff, and then they start to panic, you know, for some kind of worry. I'll tell you right now, I'm not too worried about any kind of land invasion. I just don't think any country has enough manpower to do that for us. Also, we're one of the most heavily weaponized countries there is, right? 2A homes everywhere, right? So I don't think that it's the easiest to just overtake us in general, right? I just don't think it is, because they just don't have the manpower against the average citizen that does have some sort of defensive tool in their homes, right? And that's not counting all the other non-lethal and handheld, just all the other things that you can get outside of 2A, right? But I definitely don't think that it's an area to freak out about. I think that you definitely should give a pause. You definitely need to knock out these different areas so that you can feel that your family is the most prepared, but you just have to keep pushing forward with being prepared, because in all honesty, war is just one tiny, like 1% of the stuff that we have to worry about or we should be preparing for, right? A lot of stuff is happening across the board. A lot of, just a lot. It's very, very heavy. I've never in all my years of just preparedness and just my thought process about what was happening has it ever been so, what is the word I'm looking for? It's never been this much, right, going on at one time. It's been maybe a couple things that has my attention, that I'm concerned about, that I'm worried about. And right now, my little grays, right now is literally the worst when you talk about the plate is full. There's so many variables. There's so many things that we're watching right now, and it's a lot, and it's hard if you're preparing. But if you just stay focused on the stuff that you need to do, stay focused on getting the staples in your home. You know, I'm going to tell you what we've been doing lately. We've been concentrating on staples. I put out a video several weeks ago. We're concentrating on staples. We're doing a round turn on staples, specific ones that we need or have, and upping those numbers and upping it enough to cover whoever we think is going to come to us, right? Not just saying, hey, do we have staples for our family for a year, but do we have staples enough for all the people that we expect to come here? Those people, do we have enough for that? So staples for our whole working crew, party crew, whatever you want to call it, our community, okay? Then we're working on, ask yourself this question. What do you want in your home that you don't have right now, that you would want in your home if SHTF was to hit tomorrow? Whatever SHTF is for you, if it was to hit tomorrow, what do you need in your house today? What do you need right now that you're like, I don't have that, or I don't have nearly enough of it? And if stuff goes left, I 100% want this item. And we're working on preparing those things. And a lot of that stuff is just luxury stuff, right? Making sure we have chocolate, making sure we have liquor, and just different things, making sure we have coffee, right? Making sure we have these pleasure items is what a lot of that ends up being, because it really comes down, it's mental, right? Making sure we've ordered and keep getting books, stuff that we could read, or games, or whatever, right? So concentrating on that. And we're getting ready, we're wrapping up the chicken coop, and we're getting ready for a full-on growing season again, right? My layout in my yard, in my head on paper that I've written out, has something like 30 plus garden beds, massive garden. Obviously that's not all happening this year. Things take time. But we're thinking about, okay, we're trying to finalize how many beds we're going to get this season and add to the area this season. What are we going to plant in each of them? How is that layout going to look? When are we going to order stuff? When are we going to order those? Is there any other garden tools, stuff that we need to get backups of, or that we need to get? When are we going to get dirt? When are we going to get mulch? All these things, right? So that we can get ready for the season, right? We're quite a ways away from that as far as frost dates. But there's a lot that needs to be done and can be done. And if you're planning to grow this year, right now is when you should be doing all of that, if you haven't already, right? And so that's what we're concentrating on. You know, I read all the same articles you read. I'm reading the same stuff. I'm seeing the same stuff. I saw the same stuff that this person brought to my attention, but, and they weren't bringing it to my attention. They were more concerned about what should they be shifting what they were working on type question, right? And I hold fast to water, food, meds, and preparing for grid down. And if you do those things, you're prepared in a lot of ways. And then just remember the Faraday level when it comes to no grid, so that if the threat that comes our way is an EMP, you don't destroy a lot of the things that you have for preparing for no power, to include your comms. That's super important that you protect your communication stuff. Super important that you're protecting any kind of solar generators and aspects of having solar power later. Super important that you're protecting that stuff. But you know, I tell you what, I'm just definitely not going to be losing sleep over, you know, North Korea threatening us for the 1,000th time. Is there a time that they might try and do something? Absolutely. But you can't be fearful of that, right? You got to live life. If these channels are getting too much, or reading that stuff is too much, you need to walk away. Take the kids, go for a hike. Google right now some different hiking trails and just go on a hike as a family. Go to the movies, go do something, okay? Go in your backyard and with hubby or with the kids and say, where would you put this? Where would you put that? What plants do you want to see? Ask the kids, right? I ask opinions all the time. Like, I did this little walk path, And come to find out, hubby hated it from jump. He hated it because I used these old, just plain gray bricks that were on the property, and I wanted to reuse them. And you've probably seen in my other channel, right? I did this big elaborate path with these bricks, and come to find out, hubby and kiddo couldn't stand them. Hubby really couldn't stand them. He just told me the other day, because I started moving the path because we put the chicken coop up, the path needed to change completely. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this path. And he was like, get rid of it. It's garbage anyway, right? And I was like, ugh, you know, my feelings was hurt. And then I asked the kiddo, like, what did you think of the path? Now, mind you, the path wasn't done. It was just the black stuff, right? Because it kind of outline it, and it was these ugly bricks. And we didn't have the gravel in there yet. I think it would look better with gravel, but we didn't have any of that yet. Glad we didn't, because I had to shift it and move it because of the coop. And I've now moved it, and hubby was like, get rid of it. Let's just plant grass. And I'm like, I'm not in the business of planting grass. And of course, the whole conversation of well, we're moving anyway. Who cares? Like, what will look better, right? And then I asked the kiddo, and he's like, yeah, you know, it was okay, but I don't really care for these bricks. So, you know, ask your family, ask their opinion, right? And I never was 100% with the bricks, but I was just trying to be resourceful and reuse things. And so now we have some wood edging that we got, some wood edging planks, whatever, and we're going to put that down. And we're going to still put the gravel, and I've reshifted it so that it goes a different direction. So it's going to go and be an actual walk path to the chicken coop door, right? And I think it's going to turn out great. However, you know, they weren't loving it at all, but nobody wanted to tell me that they didn't like it. They were just going to let mom do what she does. Mom does what she does. Hubby does what I ask most of the time. He definitely has opinion though. Okay. So don't be asking it unless you want it. So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, you know, and I got rid of the bricks. I'm going to use them for different projects. So at the end of the day, it was the right call. The bricks just were not the right. They just weren't. I was trying to, but they just looked horrible. Right. So get the family involved is what I'm talking about. Do stuff with your family, get them involved, ask them questions. Take the kids out. Hey, what part of the yard is the scariest to you? Take them out at night, but they're right there with you. You know, what's the scariest part of this yard to you, right? Have them help you, right? And that helps the bond, that helps them be feeling that they're involved with stuff and that they know what's going on and they're understanding why you're doing certain things and why you care about certain things. I mean, kiddo right now in love with the chickens, right? Goes out every day, checking for eggs, making sure the water's not frozen, you know, talking to them, holding them, loves it, right? Knows all the things to look for, knows all the places to look for eggs, knows, okay, this needs to be open, okay, make sure I close the gate. Like, just all the responsibility that is being learned with just having chickens is beautiful, beautiful. And do that with the garden stuff. Do that with your pressure canning stuff and preserving food. Do that if you're putting, you know, anything you're doing. Bring your children into the mix. Bring them into the fold and let them do that stuff. You're doing something and the kiddo asks, well, what are you doing? And most times you'd be like, I'm not doing anything. But I tell him everything now, right? He asks the question, I'm going to tell him, right? Well, I'm writing out this budget, because I'm trying to pay off this, this, and this because we want to buy a house, right? I tell, because if you share things with kids, they see the whole picture. Kids are so smart, you guys. And I think for a family to be successful in an SHTF scenario, you've got to bring your kids into the mix, right? And do stuff with them and enjoy life with them. And so if this stuff is too much, it's too much for you, it's overwhelming, take those kiddos and go for a hike. Look at different plants. Get an app and take pictures of different stuff you guys are finding on your that you're foraging as you go on this hike. What's growing along the path? What trees are trees? Teach them something. Learn something yourself, right? I just think it's so important, and the time is short. You never know when things are going to be taken from us, when children are going to be taken from us, family members are going to be taken from us. So don't forget to do the just breathe stuff, okay? So I hope you guys are well. What's today? Thursday. The week's going good. These cold days for us are about to warm up, so I'm excited about that. And we're just doing the things. We're just doing the things. I think tomorrow's video is going to be a premiere, but I think it's just going to be a tour video of the chicken coop, show you the chickens, show you close up. I've been showing some of that stuff on my other channel, but I think I'm just gonna do it on my main channel tomorrow and just show you guys the chicken coop and some different stuff that me and hubby are doing with the chicken coop, right, that we've done. So get your opinions and keep it pushing, right? So I'll see you guys tomorrow in the next video. Take care. Bye.